Hi, everyone. We're so excited to be here with you today to kick off the inaugural celebration of ARG1-D Awareness Day. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Andrea, and we are patient affairs managers from Aglia. And today we are very excited because we're going to show you how to make a lower protein chocolate celebration cake.
And I am so excited to see you put this together, Andrea. I am not a baker, so is this going to be complicated? Am I going to be able to do it?
I have full confidence that you can do this, Michelle. So the beauty of this cake is that it is a very simple recipe, and you're actually going to be using a box cake mix. So your good old box cake mix that you get from the grocery store, we're just going to change up some of the ingredients.
Awesome. What are the differences?
So when you get a typical cake mix, the back of the box gives you all the instructions, right? So it tells you to add water, it tells you to add eggs, and it tells you to add oil. So to keep this lower protein, we don't want to add the eggs, but we do need to add something to like help it rise, kind of actually make it a cake, right? So the trick and the secret is instead of adding those three ingredients, we have three different ingredients we're going to add. And that is going to be a 12-ounce can of soda. This happens to be a little bit smaller because it's what I had on hand, but I just used 2 of them to get 12 ounces, but it's just a regular size can of soda. We're also going to add 4 tablespoons of a chocolate pudding mix for this cake because it's chocolate. You can use a vanilla cake and use vanilla pudding if you would like. And then we need just a little bit more liquid, so we're going to use 3 ounces of water.
I can't believe we're using soda for this.
We are. I know. Who would have thought it, but we are.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. So do you want to see how we put this all together?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. So let's walk through how to make this cake. And just don't mind me, we're going to tip this down just so you can watch along. So the first thing we do, because you're just going to really follow the instructions on your cake mix, right? So one of the first things that you need to do is actually prepare your pan. I'm using a 9-inch pan, so it's a 9x9 square pan. It just happens to be the pan that I have. You can use what's called a 9x13 pan, which is just like a little bit bigger than this pan, but about the same width. Or you could even use cupcakes. So really just no need to buy a new pan, just use whatever pan that you have on hand. All that it changes is the time that you'll bake it for and kind of how tall your cake's going to be, because the bigger the pan, the shorter your cake might be. All right, so to get it ready, you just spray a little bit of oil, make sure that oil is all over the bottom of the pan. You can also use, they make like, the nonstick spray, you can use that too, and that's fine. The box calls for flour to sprinkle on the bottom of your pan. I'm just going to use the cake mix.
Oh, what a fun trick.
Yeah, like now I don't need another ingredient, right? Like you just mix. So then you just kind of like shake it from side to side. So whenever you see a recipe that tells you to do this is all you're doing. You're just shaking it like that. This is also really fun for a kid to do too.
Does that just help it not stick to the bottom, kind of like the oil as well?
Exactly. So the flour is going to help it release, or the cake mix that you're using, whatever you're putting on the bottom, is going to help it release from the pan so your cake doesn't stick to your pan. I'll just put that over here to the side. And then as you saw, I just went ahead and I put the extra cake mix just right in the bowl. Then you're not wasting anything either. So that's why I like this, because otherwise you use like extra flour, you might have too much, you have to throw it away. Nobody likes to waste. So the rest of the cake mix is going to go in the bowl. And then from that chocolate pudding, I'm going to measure out 4 tablespoons. This is also probably the good part. You can have a little kid help with you if you got a little one in the house. And then we mentioned our soda. So this is the 12 ounces of the soda. You can hear the bubbles.
Yeah. And what different flavors of soda could you use for this recipe?
Yeah, for the chocolate, any dark cola is going to work. So you could use just whatever is your preference really, or whatever you have around the house. If you're making like a vanilla cake or a lemon cake, something that's not chocolate cake, you might want to use like a clear soda just so that you don't add like the dark soda to the lighter colored cake mix, but it actually doesn't add too much extra flavor. So it's really whatever you have on hand in your preference. And then finally your water. All right, Michelle, you said you're not a baker. What do you think so far?
I think this looks pretty easy. I'm a little worried. I feel like I always overmix things. So walk us through kind of the mixing process.
Okay, and you're not alone. I think that's something that probably some people get tripped up on as well. And as you can see, I'm just kind of mixing this up, mixing it until it gets like everything is, you don't see any cake mix. That's what's really important. So once you see no more cake mix, you're gonna mix this for like 2 minutes. Now you can mix it by hand, just using the spoon like I'm doing here, or you can mix it with an electric mixer. So either way, you want to make sure you mix it for 2 minutes and no more than 2 minutes, because if you go over 2 minutes, you make your cake really tough. Flour and water together is what makes gluten, and gluten is what makes your baked goods really tough if you overmix them. If you don't mix it enough, you don't add enough air into the batter, and then you end up with an even flatter cake. Something to keep in mind is that this cake will be a little shorter than what you might be used to when you bake a cake from the regular ingredients, but that's because we're leaving out a few things that typically add to the rise and the structure of a cake because it's lower protein, but I promise it's going to taste just as good.
That seems easy enough for even me to do.
Yeah, I think you can handle it. Yeah, and it hasn't quite been 2 minutes on the mixing of this batter, but once you get to that 2 minute mark, just set a timer, either, you know, if you have a microwave behind you on the microwave or on your phone. And then when it's done, you pour it into the pan and then you bake it according to the instructions on the package.
And do you have to bake it for any longer or shorter depending on the pan that you use?
Yes, so the box will give you guidelines on how to, like, what time you want to choose for the type of pan that you have. And then if you have like a smaller pan, like these deeper pans, like the one that I was using, check it at, you know, kind of the mid-range of that time. They always give you a range. You'll put a toothpick in there, maybe use a fork or a knife, whatever you have on hand that can just poke right the middle. If you poke it in the middle and it still looks like there's some cake batter on the end, it's not done. Put it in for a couple more minutes. Once it comes out, it can have a couple crumbs, but then that's when you know it's ready to go.
Okay.
Yep. And since you mentioned pans, I wanted to make a quick note about cupcakes. This can make cupcakes, but it's going to make 24 cupcakes. So that's going to be a few more servings than the recipe that we have here today. This recipe that we're making in any size pan other than the cupcakes, you can divide into 12 equal pieces. When you do so, each piece has around 1 gram of protein. Always make sure though you talk to your dietitian before you add any new foods into your diet or try any new foods. But this recipe making 12 servings has 1 gram of protein about per serving. And if you make cupcakes, it'll be about half of that because you're dividing the batter amongst more servings.
And how fun to make cupcakes.
It is, right? So,
yeah.
All right. So let's pretend we put it in the pan, we put it in the oven. 30 or so minutes have passed by. We have a finished cake.
That looks so good.
Yes. So what do you like to put, what kind of frosting do you like on your chocolate cakes?
I am a tried and true chocolate cake vanilla frosting.
We're cut from the same cloth. That would be my favorite as well. So no surprise, I have vanilla frosting here. So vanilla frosting is great. Any combination is obviously great. If you like strawberry, use a strawberry frosting. You can dye the frosting with some food color if you want to get kind of creative and make it kind of festive. There's all different sorts of flavored frostings now that are out there. Just make sure you read your labels, make sure you understand the ingredients, look for 0 grams of protein. And again, always ask your dietitian to make sure that it's a food that you can incorporate into your diet.
Awesome.
So yeah, so once the cake needs to be totally cool before you frost it. Now I know it's really tempting. You smell it while it's baking. It smells so good, but you want to just make sure that you give it its time. You let it rest. It comes to room temperature. If you live somewhere really warm, you can even put it in the fridge for a couple of minutes just to make sure it's really cold before you start frosting. Otherwise, you risk pulling off the top layer of your cake. We don't want to do that.
No, definitely not when the cake looks that good.
Exactly. So, but yeah, then once you're done frosting it, you cut it into 12 servings and you're ready to have some cake.
Awesome. And that was so easy to put together. And you mentioned doing that with kids. I think that'd be so fun to even be able to have something that the kids can bring to their schools or pack in their lunches. What a great way to celebrate Arginase-1 Deficiency Day.
I know. And what's even greater is, do you want to try some?
Yes, definitely.
All right, I'll get you a piece. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. It's coming for you.
Oh, coming in. Okay, I'm gonna try it.
See. All right, we got
That's so good.
it. So we passed. We have a winner. So
We
very
do.
good. Yes. Hopefully you all really enjoyed just watching this video, learning a new recipe. We hope that you can make this cake or maybe something very similar for your own celebration of the inaugural ARG1-D Awareness Day. So thanks everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.